All right, let's just jump right in. Most of us spend our entire lives trying to avoid making mistakes, right? We see them as failures, maybe even as a flaw in our character. But what if? What if that whole way of thinking is just wrong? What if we need a totally new blueprint, a new architecture for what a mistake even is?
So I want you to just think about this for a second. Seriously, what if your mistakes weren't failures at all? What if every single time you thought you messed up, you were actually getting handed some piece of critical information? And maybe, just maybe, all that shame we feel when we make a mistake, what if that's the very thing blocking us from learning the most important lessons?
And boom, this quote just nails it. A mistake isn't just taking a wrong turn on some perfectly drawn map. No, it's that sudden light bulb moment where you realize the map itself, the one you've been trusting, is actually wrong. And that mistake is your big chance to correct it, to redraw it based on how things really are. It's not a failure, it's a recalibration, a course correction.
Okay, so if we're going to build this new way of thinking, this new architecture, we first have to do a little demolition. We've got to take a hard look at the old one, right? The language we use around mistakes is usually packed with judgment, with shame. We need to deconstruct that and figure out what we're really talking about. And this is the bedrock idea for everything we're talking about today. It's called the architect's premise. Basically, we're shifting our whole perspective. We're moving away from a moral judgment, I did a bad thing, and moving towards looking at it like a design problem. This isn't about making failure sound cool or romantic. It's about treating a mistake like critical feedback, like a system telling you, hey, something's not aligned here. The point isn't to feel better about your mistakes. It's to get smarter because of them. All right, so with that new premise in mind, let's put the word mistake under a microscope. Because what we'll find is that when we say, I made a mistake, we're usually lumping three totally different things together into one big messy concept. So let's pull them apart.
So here they are, the three hidden layers of what we call an error. First, there's the upstream deficit, then the handling of data, and finally, execution and regard. And here's the key takeaway. Getting these three mixed up, that's where all the shame comes from. That's where we go wrong in trying to learn from what happened. So let's break them down.
First up, we've got the upstream deficit. And really, this is just a fancy way of saying a lack of knowledge. It's the cleanest, simplest one of the bunch. It just means you didn't have a crucial piece of information. You literally didn't know what you didn't know. That's not a character flaw, right? It's just being human. And a lot of the time, the only way you could have found out you were missing that info was by trying something and having it not work. Okay, layer number 2, poor reasoning. This is all about how you handled the information you actually had. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. We almost always slap the label poor on it after we know the outcome, with the amazing clarity of hindsight, right? What felt like a mistake was really just you collecting more data. And that data proved that your old way of thinking, your mental model, just wasn't up to the task.
And this third one, this one is a different beast entirely. Collapsed care, the vanishing of regard. This has nothing to do with not having the right info or thinking about it the wrong way. This is about a lapse in attention while you were doing the thing. It's when you lost focus. That living thread of concern, as the source puts it, just snapped for a moment. This isn't a failure of brain power. It's a failure of presence.
So that's great for looking backward, right? We can now diagnose our past mistakes with a lot more clarity. But what about looking forward? How do we build a better map of reality so we can navigate better in the future? Well, the material we're looking at gives us this incredible, almost unbelievably simple tool to do just that. It's called the Meteor Test, and what it does is pretty radical. See, we live our lives surrounded by these huge, powerful ideas, symbols that we treat as if they're real forces of nature. And this test, it's like a special pair of glasses that lets you see right through them, to the actual gears and levers working underneath. Just look at this. On the left, you've got these big, abstract ideas we worship. The economy, prestige, brand. We talk about them like they're these giant, uncontrollable forces. And then on the right, you have reality. Cold, hard, material reality. Contracts, steel, gravity, the simple order of operations. The problem is, we get them mixed up all the time. We act as if our belief in the brand can stop a bridge from collapsing. And here's the test itself. It's so simple, it's almost funny. You just ask, if a giant meteor was heading for Earth, would this concept change its path? Would national pride make it swerve? No. Would a brilliant branding strategy stop it? Of course not. These things only have power when they get turned into real-world physical actions. Building stuff, signing papers, moving things from A to B. It's a reality check that shows you exactly where the fluff ends and the real world begins.
Okay, so now you've got a better way to look at mistakes. You've got this new tool, the meteor test, to see things for what they really are. So what's next? The question becomes, well, how do you build with this new clarity? How do you actually become the architect of your own life?
And that leads us right into the final section. Now we're moving from demolition and analysis to actual construction. We're going to look at a framework called the 4DP, or the 4 foundational pillars. And I want you to think of these as the actual load-bearing walls for your life. They aren't just feel-good concepts, they're the structure that holds everything up.
So this whole framework, the 4DP, it's about shifting from being an actor in someone else's play to becoming the architect of your own. It's not about being handed a script. It's about building the stage, the structure that lets you write your own story day by day.
Okay, let's get into the pillars themselves. First up, target. And the question here is, where are you really aiming? Not what you say you're aiming for, but where do your actions actually point? You might say your target is to get in shape, but if you're on the couch with a bag of chips every night, well, your real target is comfort. Your actions always reveal your true target. Next, truth. This is about your deep-down beliefs about how the world works and about yourself. If you secretly believe you're just bad with money, it doesn't matter how great your budget is, you'll find a way to sabotage it. This is about digging up that hidden programming. Then we have totally. Are you all in? Or are you just kind of performing? There's a huge difference between trying to write a book and deciding, I am a writer. One is a hedge and escape hatch. The other is a full-on commitment. And finally, title. What's the title of the story you're living in? Are you the struggling artist, the overwhelmed parent? These titles become self-fulfilling prophecies. The question is, did you choose that title or did it choose you?
Now, this is absolutely crucial. You cannot treat these 4 pillars like a buffet where you just pick and choose the ones you like. No, they are a single interconnected system. They are the 4 walls of a house. Think about it. If one of them is weak, the whole thing comes crashing down. How can you be totally committed if your target is based on a lie about your truth? You can't. How can you give yourself the title of athlete if you're not totally committed? The whole thing is a house of cards. One weak pillar, and the entire structure is compromised.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important idea. This system, it's already running right now as you're listening to this. Your target, your truth, your totality, your title, they are all working together to create the life you have at this very moment, whether you're aware of it or not. So the challenge isn't to invent some new system out of thin air. The real work, the real architecture, is to finally get clear on the system that's already in place, and then, with that clarity, start to consciously design with it.